Have you ever had to choose between your dignity and a roof over your head? My name is Sarah Chin. I'm 32 years old, and when I was 17, my mother kicked me out of the house with a backpack and $20. Not because I did drugs. Not because I stole. Not because I got pregnant or did anything terrible that could justify it. It was because I said no. And now, 15 years later, they want reconciliation. Funny how that word shows up right when you start doing well in life. But let me go back a bit. Let me tell you exactly who I was before they made me invisible. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, in a lower middle-class home where my dad, Robert, worked as a mechanic and my mom, Linda, was a secretary at a law firm. I had two older brothers, Marcus, the perfect son who went to college and became an engineer, and Tyler, the rebel who barely graduated high school but somehow always got forgiven. And then there was me, the middle child. The one who got good grades, but not good enough. The one who was quiet, but not quiet enough. The one who tried to please, but could never quite hit the mark. My mom had this way of looking at me like I was an unresolved problem. Like my existence was a debt she didn't know how to pay off. My dad? He was absent in a way that hurt more than any yelling, physically present, but emotionally checked out. I remember one specific day when I was 15. It was my birthday. Nothing big, I just wanted us to have dinner together as a family. I made lasagna, my grandma's recipe, the one my mom always praised. I set the table. I waited. Marcus didn't show up because he had a happy hour with coworkers. Tyler was off somewhere with friends. My dad came home late, ate in silence while staring at his phone. My mom ate half a portion and said, "It's a bit salty, Sarah." That wasn't about the lasagna. At 17, I was in my senior year of high school. I worked part-time at a local coffee shop, saving every penny for college because I knew my parents wouldn't pay for it. My teachers said I had potential for scholarships. I had applied to 6 universities. And then I met James. James was 4 years older, worked in construction, had tattoos on his arms, and this way of talking that made you feel like he actually saw you. We started dating. For the first time in my life, someone asked me how my day was and actually wanted to hear the answer. My mom hated him the second she saw him. "That kind of guy is going to ruin your life," she said. "You'll end up just like him, no future, no education, nothing." I tried to explain that James was saving up to start his own business. That he was kind. That he treated me well. But the more I defended him, the more she attacked. The tension at home became unbearable. My mom started setting ridiculous rules. I couldn't go out after 6 p.m., couldn't use the car, couldn't lock my bedroom door. It was like she was trying to suffocate me back into control. And then came the ultimatum. It was a cold March night, rain tapping against the window. I had gotten home 10 minutes late from a shift at the cafe because the bus was delayed. My mom was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, face red. "You have to choose," she said. "Either you break up with that boy and start obeying me, or you get out of my house." I looked at my dad. He was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV like nothing was happening. "Dad," I said, my voice breaking. He didn't even turn his head. And that was the moment I realized there was no real choice. Because even if I said yes, even if I broke up with James and followed every rule, I would never be enough. I would always be the unresolved problem. So I said the thing that changed my life forever. No. Let me tell you exactly what happened that night. When Sarah said no, the air in the room changed. It turned thick, heavy, like every unsaid word from the last 17 years had suddenly gained physical weight. Linda stood up slowly from her chair. Her eyes were locked on her daughter with an intensity that made Sarah want to disappear. But she didn't disappear. For the first time, she stayed. "What did you say?" Linda asked, her voice low and dangerous. "I said no, Mom. I'm not breaking up with James just because you don't like him. And I'm not going to live in fear in my own house." The slap came so fast Sarah didn't even see it. She just felt it, the sharp sting on her cheek, the taste of blood on her lip where her tooth had cut it. "You don't have a home here," Linda said, her words like ice. "You've got 30 minutes to grab your stuff and get out." Sarah looked at her father again. Robert was still on the couch, but now his eyes were shut. Not sleeping, just refusing to witness. Tyler was upstairs, loud music leaking through his door. Marcus had moved to Seattle 3 years ago and barely called. No one was going to fight for her. Sarah walked up to her room with shaking legs, grabbed an old backpack, the one she used for school, and started filling it. A few clothes, toothbrush, the old laptop she'd bought with money from the cafe job, photos of her late grandmother, a worn-out teddy bear she'd had since she was 5. 28 minutes later, she was standing at the front door. Linda was in the hallway, arms crossed, watching like she was overseeing someone taking the trash out. "You'll regret this," Linda said. "You'll see what the real world is like. You'll beg to come back." Sarah opened her mouth, wanted to say something sharp, something that would hurt just as much as she was hurting. But what came out was, "Why did you never love me?" Linda blinked. For a moment, just 1 second, something passed over her face. Could have been pain. Could have been guilt. But then the mask returned. Love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't make you responsible. You'll learn that. Sarah walked out the door and never looked back. James picked her up that night. She'd called him from a payphone, crying, cold rain pouring, her back against a brick wall, feeling like her world had collapsed. He showed up in 15 minutes, driving that old noisy pickup. "Come with me," he said. "No questions. No judgment." She slept on the couch of the house James shared with 2 coworkers. It was small, smelled like stale beer and pizza, but it was warm. And for the first time in days, she could breathe. The next few days were a blur. Sarah tried to go back to school, but every time she walked through the halls, she felt the stares. Small towns gossip fast. Everyone knew she'd been kicked out. Some looked at her with pity, others with judgment, like she must have done something to deserve it. She stopped going, dropped out of high school 3 months before graduation. College acceptance letters started to arrive, University of Oregon, Portland State, even one from out of state, but they all needed her parents' financial info. FAFSA, tax returns, signatures, stuff Sarah no longer had access to. She called Marcus once. He answered in a hurry, clearly at work. "Marcus, I need help," she said. "Mom kicked me out. I need." "Sarah, I can't get involved in this." He cut her off. "You know how Mom is. If you did something to make her mad, you need to fix it. I didn't do anything. I just wanted my own life. Look, I've got a meeting. We'll talk later." He never called back. Tyler was worse. When she finally got a hold of him, he laughed. "Damn, Sarah, what did you do? Mom never kicks anyone out for no reason. She kicked me out because I wouldn't break up with my boyfriend. Then break up with him. It's simple." "Tyler, you don't get it." "No, you don't get it. You've always been dramatic. Always thought you were special. Maybe a little time in the real world will help you grow up." Sarah hung up before he could say more. She got more hours at the cafe. Worked 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., then picked up evening cleaning shifts in office buildings. Slept on James's couch, chipped in what she could for rent and food. She was always tired, the kind of tired that settles in your bones and never fully leaves. James was kind during the first few months. But kindness has limits when you're living in a cramped space with someone on the verge of an emotional breakdown. They started fighting. Small things at first, dishes in the sink, clothes on the floor. Then it got worse. "Sarah, you've got to figure it out," James said one night after a particularly ugly fight. "You want to stay stuck in the past or build something with me?" "I am trying," she cried. "I'm working 2 jobs, trying to save. You're living here for free. My roommates are complaining. You need to contribute more or maybe we need to rethink this." That hurt more than her mom's slap. Because Sarah had thought, truly thought, that at least one person in the world was on her side, no matter what. She was wrong. 3 months after being kicked out, Sarah hit a kind of rock bottom she didn't even know existed. James broke up with her on a morning in June. No warning. Just said, "This isn't working," and told her she needed to find another place. His roommates looked at the floor, clearly already in on it, clearly had pushed for this. Sarah had $340 in her account. No high school diploma. No family references. Nothing but a backpack and the growing feeling that maybe her mom was right, maybe she really was worthless. She found a tiny room in a shared house on the east side of Portland. $450 a month. No windows, just a skylight that leaked when it rained. Barely enough room for a mattress on the floor and a cardboard box she used as a table. The bathroom was shared with 6 other people, but it was hers. For the first time, she had a space that was just hers. One afternoon, Sarah was working a closing shift at the cafe when a woman walked in. She looked about 60, gray hair in a loose bun, glasses hanging from her neck. She ordered a black coffee and sat near the counter, reading a thick book about software development. "You like to read?" the woman asked out of nowhere as Sarah wiped down nearby tables. Sarah paused, surprised. "I used to. Don't really have much time now." "What did you read?" "Mostly sci-fi. Stories about people building things from nothing. Surviving against impossible odds." The woman smiled. "Ever thought about learning to code?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "I didn't even finish high school. Doubt anyone would teach me something like that." "You don't need a diploma to learn programming," the woman said. "You need a computer and time. Free internet at any public library." She scribbled something on a napkin and slid it across the table. "These are some free resources. Code Academy, Free Code Camp, Khan Academy. If you're serious about changing your situation, start here." She stood up, left a $5 tip, and walked out. Sarah stared at the napkin for a long time that night. Part of her wanted to throw it away. It was ridiculous, right? A high school dropout in a windowless room learning how to code. But another part, the part that still had a tiny spark of hope, whispered, "What if?" She started that week. Went to the public library every morning before her cafe shift. Sat at a computer in the back and followed tutorials. At first, it was like reading a foreign language. Nothing made sense. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, it all felt like it was designed to make you feel stupid. But Sarah was stubborn. Always had been. And now that no one was telling her she couldn't, something strange happened. She started to get it. 3 months turned into 6. 6 turned into a year. Sarah worked the cafe during the day, studied code at night, and on weekends. She built tiny projects, a simple portfolio site, a to-do list app, a basic game in JavaScript. Then she saw a job posting. A small tech startup in Portland was hiring a junior developer. Starting salary, $45,000. No degree required, just a portfolio. Sarah applied, expecting nothing. They called her for an interview. The office was in a shared workspace in the Pearl District, ping pong tables, free coffee, that typical 2010s startup vibe. Sarah wore the only semi-professional outfit she owned, slightly frayed black pants and a white blouse she ironed 3 times. The interviewer, a guy named Dev wearing a GitHub hoodie, looked over her portfolio in silence for 10 minutes. "You built all this yourself?" he finally asked. "Yes." "No bootcamp? No classes?" "Public library. Free tutorials online." Dev leaned back in his chair. "Impressive. Most computer science grads can't build things this clean." Sarah felt tears burning behind her eyes, but held them in. "When can you start?" he asked. She started the following Monday. Her first paycheck was $1,642 after taxes. She stared at that number for 5 full minutes. It was more money than she'd seen in months. It wasn't rich, not even close, but it was stable. It was possibility. That night, sitting in her tiny room holding that paycheck, Sarah thought about calling her mom. Thought about saying, "You were wrong. I made it. I'm somebody." But she didn't call. Because deep down, she knew she wasn't doing this to prove anything to Linda. She was doing it because she had no other choice but to keep going. It still hurt, though. Every night. The rejection. The abandonment. The knowledge that her own family had decided she was disposable. But for the first time since that cold night in March, Sarah began to believe, just maybe, she could build something from nothing. Something that belonged only to her. 2 years passed at the startup. Sarah was no longer a junior. She'd been promoted to mid-level developer. Her salary was up to $72,000, and she was working on projects that actually mattered. Apps people used. Code that solved real problems. She'd moved out of the windowless room into a small 1-bedroom apartment in Northeast Portland. Nothing fancy, but it had natural light. A real kitchen. A couch she had bought herself. At 22 years old, Sarah Chin was rebuilding a life. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't perfect. But it was hers. Then one October morning, her phone rang. Unknown number from Oregon. She almost didn't pick up. But something made her press the green button. Hello, Sarah? The voice was familiar but distant, like something from a dream you half forgot. It's Marcus. Sarah froze mid-step in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, heart racing. Marcus, she said, keeping her voice neutral. How long's it been? For years. Almost 5, he admitted, his voice uneasy. Look, I know we haven't talked, but Mom's in the hospital. She had a heart attack. Not a big one, but the doctors say it's a warning. Sarah said nothing, just held the phone, waiting to feel something. Fear, worry, anything. But all she felt was emptiness. She's asking to see you, Marcus continued. She wants to talk. To make things right. Make things right, Sarah repeated and laughed, a humorless sound. Now? After 5 years? Sarah, I know it was complicated. Complicated? Her voice rose. She threw me out when I was 17, Marcus. 17. Do you remember when I called begging for help? Because I do. I remember you saying you had a meeting. Silence on the other end. Things are different now, Marcus said eventually, voice low. Mom's changed. She regrets it. She wants to see you. Then she can come find me, Sarah said. Does she even know where I live? No, how would she? Exactly. Because in 5 years, none of you tried to find me. No calls. No emails. Nothing. I was dead to you. And now that she's had a health scare, suddenly I matter. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. But you know what's funny, Marcus? I don't need her anymore. I don't need any of you. I built a life. I have a job. I have an apartment. I have friends who actually care about me. I did all of it without a single ounce of help from that family. She took a deep breath, feeling something crack open in her chest, but it was a good kind of break. Like pulling out a splinter that had been infected for years. Tell Mom I hope she recovers. I really do. But I'm not going to the hospital. And if she wants to talk to me, she'll have to do something she's never done before. She'll have to respect me. Sarah. Goodbye, Marcus. She hung up before he could say more. Sarah stood in her kitchen for a long time after that, staring out the window at the trees outside. Orange leaves falling. October in Portland had always been beautiful. She expected to feel guilty. Expected that familiar voice to whisper she was a bad daughter, a bad person, selfish. But it didn't come. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, peace. Because for the first time, Sarah had chosen herself. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. She didn't owe anything to people who treated her like she was disposable. 2 weeks later, she got a letter. Handwritten envelope. From her mother. Sarah nearly threw it away without opening it. But curiosity won. The letter was short. Sarah, your brother told me you don't want to see me. I understand. I wasn't a good mother to you. I made choices that hurt you, and I have no excuse for them. If you ever want to talk, my door is open. Mom. Sarah read it twice. Looked for the manipulation, the excuses, the gaslighting she expected. But all she saw was exhaustion. A tired old woman finally admitting what she'd done. It wasn't enough. It didn't erase 5 years of silence. But it was something. Sarah tucked the letter into a drawer and kept living her life. 3 months later, Dev called Sarah into a meeting. The startup had been acquired by a bigger company. They were offering her a position as a senior developer in San Francisco. Salary, $140,000. Signing bonus. Relocation covered. You deserve this, Dev said. You're one of the best engineers who's ever worked here. And you earned it all on your own. That's rare. Sarah accepted on the spot. San Francisco. A new city. A fresh start. A chance to finally leave Portland and everything it represented behind. The night before her move, Sarah drove past the street where she grew up. She didn't stop. Just drove slowly past the 2-story house with peeling paint. The lights were on. She could see shadows moving inside. Then she kept driving. Because some doors, once closed, are better left that way. San Francisco was everything Portland wasn't. Chaotic, expensive, fast-paced. But it was also full of opportunity, the kind of city where no one asked about your past because everyone was too busy building their future. Sarah moved into a shared apartment in the Mission District. Her room had a view of a noisy street where food trucks sold tacos at all hours. The apartment cost $1,800 a month, more than what she'd paid for an entire place in Portland, but her salary more than covered it. For the first time in her life, Sarah had money left over at the end of the month. The company, TechFlow, was different from the startup. Bigger, more structured. There were dedicated teams, 2-week sprints, thorough code reviews. Sarah was assigned to a machine learning project to optimize logistics systems. It was challenging, sometimes frustrating, but she loved it. In the first 6 months, Sarah threw herself into work with near-manic intensity. She'd arrive at 8 a.m., leave at 7 p.m. Weekends often found her at the office debugging code while eating cold Chinese takeout. Her team lead, a woman named Priya who had immigrated from India 10 years earlier, pulled her aside one April afternoon. "Sarah, you're brilliant," Priya said. "But you're burning out. When's the last time you took a day off?" Sarah had to think. "I don't know. March. That was 6 weeks ago. You need balance. You're coming out with me and some of the team Friday night." It's not a request, it's an order. Sarah almost said no, but something in Priya's firm yet kind expression made her agree. They went to a bar in the Castro. Live music, craft beer, casual conversation that wasn't about work. At first, Sarah sat in the corner, uncomfortable with the idea of socializing just for fun. But then Priya started sharing stories about her move from India, how she arrived with $500 and a student visa, slept on a couch for 2 years, built a career from scratch. "You too, right?" Priya asked, looking at Sarah. "I've heard whispers." "Self-taught. No degree." Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Public library. Free tutorials online." "That's incredible," Priya said. Then, softer, "People like us, who had to fight for everything, we have something money can't buy. We have hunger. And hunger beats privilege every time." Those words stuck with Sarah. She started going out more. Not a lot, she was still naturally introverted, but enough to build real connections. She joined a group of devs who met on Sundays to work on open-source projects. She bonded with her roommate Diana, a graphic designer with a dry sense of humor who made Sarah laugh in a way she hadn't in years. Diana asked about her family once while they were cooking dinner. "I'm not really in touch with them," Sarah said simply. Diana nodded, not pushing. Chosen family counts just as much as blood. Sometimes even more. Sarah had never thought of it that way, but it made sense. 1 year in San Francisco became 2. Sarah got promoted again, now a tech lead managing her own team. Her salary jumped to $185,000. She moved into her own 1-bedroom apartment in No Valley. It had morning sunlight, a tiny balcony where she drank coffee on Saturdays. She bought real furniture, not from thrift stores, not off Craigslist, from actual stores where you choose colors and styles. She hung art on the walls, prints from local artists she found at the Ferry Building Market. She bought plants and, surprisingly, managed to keep them alive. Her apartment was small, but it was hers. Every corner reflected her choices. There were no memories of rejection soaked into the walls. No ghosts of cruel words echoing down the hallway. It was a sanctuary. On her 25th birthday, Diana threw her a surprise party. Just 6 people, current and former roommates, a few friends from work, Priya. There was a badly iced cake and candles that nearly caught the tablecloth on fire. "Make a wish," Diana said, smiling. Sarah looked around at the people around her. People who had chosen to be there. People who saw her. People who cared with no hidden agendas, no conditions. She closed her eyes and didn't wish for success or money or revenge. She wished for peace. And for the first time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she had it. Late that night, Sarah sat on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Her phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Tyler Chin wants to connect with you. Her brother. After 6 years of total silence, Sarah stared at the connection request for a long time. She could see his profile photo, older now, neatly trimmed beard, wearing a suit that looked expensive. His headline read, "Sales Manager at Tech Startup." He'd apparently found success too. Good for him. Sarah clicked ignore and went back to watching the lights of the city. She was breathing differently now. Lighter. As if a weight she'd carried for so long had finally been set down. She didn't hate them. She didn't love them anymore either. They were just the past. And she was far too busy building her future. 3 years after arriving in San Francisco, Sarah Chin wasn't just a talented developer anymore. She was one of the most respected engineers at TechFlow. She had led a project that cut the company's operational costs by 40%. She had mentored 5 junior developers, 3 of whom had already been promoted. She had spoken at 2 tech conferences, one in Austin, another in New York, about scalable systems and software architecture. Her salary was now $220,000 a year, plus bonuses and company stock. At 28, Sarah had more money than she knew what to do with. She bought a car, not a luxury one, just a reliable used Honda Civic. For the first time, she didn't rely on public transportation or anyone's kindness. She could go anywhere, anytime. She started therapy. A therapist named Dr. Patel, who worked out of a small office in Haight-Ashbury. In the first session, Sarah sat stiffly and said, "I don't know why I'm here. My life is good." But Dr. Patel asked gently, "But I still wake up sometimes thinking I'm back in that windowless room. Or in that house. And it takes a few seconds to remember that I'm free." Trauma doesn't go away just because your life improves, Dr. Patel said. It stays in the body. But we can work through it together. It took months. Weekly sessions where Sarah finally talked about things she had buried for years. The rejection. The abandonment. The deep shame of being thrown out by her own mother, of not being enough. "You know it wasn't your fault, right?" Dr. Patel asked during one session. Intellectually, yes, Sarah replied. But emotionally, part of me still thinks if I had been different, better, quieter, more obedient, maybe she would have loved me. Children shouldn't have to earn their parents' love. It's supposed to be unconditional. The fact that it wasn't says everything about her, not about you. Those words broke something in Sarah. She cried, really cried, for the first time in years. Not angry tears. Not frustrated ones. Grief. Grief for the little girl who spent so long believing she was broken, when in reality, the situation had been broken. Sarah started doing things just for joy, not productivity. She joined a Saturday morning pottery class at a community studio. She wasn't good at it, her bowls were lopsided, her mugs leaked, but it was fun. It was something with her hands that didn't have to be perfect. She started running, not to lose weight or hit some healthy goal, but because she discovered that when she ran through the marina at 6 a.m., with fog still over the bay, her mind finally went quiet. She met someone. She wasn't looking, she never was. But at a tech conference in Seattle, she sat next to a guy named Alex during a panel on AI ethics. He whispered a joke about the speaker using too much corporate jargon, and Sarah laughed before she could stop herself. They grabbed coffee afterward. Then dinner. Then they skipped the next day's sessions and spent it just talking. Alex was a software engineer too, but at a different company. He'd also grown up in Oregon, Bend, not Portland, but with a completely different kind of family. Divorced parents who were still friends. 3 sisters who called him every week. The kind of family dynamic Sarah used to think only existed in TV commercials. "Are you close with your family?" he asked casually during dinner. Sarah hesitated. Usually, she gave vague answers. But something about Alex, maybe the way he actually listened, maybe the way he didn't push, made her be honest. "No. My mom kicked me out when I was 17. We haven't spoken in almost 10 years. Alex stopped eating. Not with performative shock, just quiet attention. That's brutal. "I'm sorry. You don't have to be. I'm okay now. You can be okay and still have gone through something brutal," he said. Both things can be true. Sarah looked at him, really looked, and realized she'd met someone who understood nuance. who understood that healing wasn't linear and that you could be successful and still carry scars. They started dating long distance. Flights between SF and Seattle every couple of weeks. Video calls at night. Text during the day, mundane but comforting. Saw a dog wearing boots. This bug is killing me. Thinking about you. 6 months later, Alex got a job in San Francisco and moved. They didn't move in together right away. Sarah still needed space that was hers, but they saw each other 4 or 5 times a week. Alex met Diana and Priya. They both approved, which meant more to Sarah than he probably knew. "He's good for you," Diana said after their first dinner together. "You smile differently with him." Sarah hadn't noticed, but it was true. On her 29th birthday, Sarah sat in her apartment, now filled with plants she could keep alive, art she had chosen, furniture she had bought. Alex was next to her on the couch. Diana was making popcorn in the kitchen. Priya was trying to convince everyone to play an overly complicated board game. Sarah took a mental snapshot of the moment. Not to post, just to keep. Because 10 years ago, she was a 17-year-old girl with a backpack and $20, convinced her life was over before it had even begun. And now she was here, with a career she loved, with people who had chosen her, with a partner who saw her completely and stayed. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Sarah, it's Mom. Marcus gave me your number. I need to talk to you. It's important. Please call." Sarah stared at the message for a long time. Alex noticed. "You okay?" "My mom," Sarah said simply. "What are you going to do?" Sarah locked the phone and set it aside. "Nothing. Not right now. Today's my birthday. And I'm surrounded by people who actually care about me." Alex kissed the top of her head. "Okay." But later that night, when everyone had gone home and Sarah was alone, she looked at the message again. 10 years. 10 years of silence. And now it was important. Sarah knew what had changed. It wasn't sudden remorse. It wasn't long-lost maternal love finally awakening. It was that now Sarah had made it. She had money. She had stability. And suddenly, reconciliation was convenient. Sarah ignored her mother's message, deleted it without replying. But 2 weeks later, Marcus called. This time, she answered. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, no small talk. His voice sounded tired. "Mom's sick. For real this time. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. Sarah felt her stomach drop, but kept her voice steady. "I'm sorry to hear that. She wants to see you. Before it's too late." Marcus, she had 10 years to reach out. 10 years. And now that she's sick, I matter. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. And we both know it. Sarah took a deep breath. "Look, I am sorry she's sick. No one deserves that. But I'm not responsible for fixing a relationship she destroyed." "Sarah, she's your mom. Biologically, yes. But mothers don't abandon teenage daughters on the street. Mothers don't ignore desperate phone calls. You know what's funny? None of you ever asked how I survived. If I was safe. If I had a place to sleep. None of you cared enough to check if I was even alive." There was a long silence. "You're right," Marcus said finally, his voice cracking. "You're absolutely right. I failed you. I was a coward. I was so scared of upsetting Mom that I forgot you were my sister." The admission caught Sarah off guard. She had expected denial. "Excuses." "Tyler's here too," Marcus added. "He wants to talk to you." Before Sarah could protest, she heard Tyler's voice. "Sarah? It's me." He sounded different. Older. Less cocky. "Look, I know I was an asshole. A complete one. And I know an apology doesn't fix years of shit, but I really am sorry. You didn't deserve any of it." Sarah said nothing, just listened. "Mom's scared," Tyler continued. "Scared of dying without making things right. And I get it if you don't want to see her. But I want you to know, she's changed. Therapy. Antidepressants. The whole thing. She admits she was horrible to you. She knows she destroyed her own daughter out of pride and control." "That's great for her," Sarah said, voice flat. "But owning up doesn't give me back the years I lost. It doesn't erase the nights I spent in freezing rooms, eating ramen because that's all I could afford. It doesn't take away the shame of being kicked out by your own mother. I know. And you don't owe her anything. Exactly. I don't. But Tyler said carefully, do you want something from her? Not for her. For you. Something you need to say? Something you need to hear. Sarah paused. The question was different. It wasn't about forgiveness. It was about closure. I'll think about it, she said at last. 3 days later, Sarah was in the parking lot of a hospital in Portland. She'd flown in the night before, stayed at a hotel. Now she was sitting in the rental car, staring at the hospital entrance, trying to decide if she really wanted to walk through those doors. Alex had offered to come. She said no. This was something she needed to do alone. Finally, she got out of the car. She found the room on the 3rd floor. Oncology. The door was half open. Sarah could see Marcus and Tyler sitting in chairs, talking quietly. And in the bed, small under the white blankets, was Linda. She looked smaller. Her hair, once perfectly styled, was now thin and gray. Her skin had a yellowish tint. Tubes and monitors surrounded her. Sarah knocked gently on the door. Linda turned her head. Her eyes, still sharp, still alert, met Sarah's. For a moment, no one said anything. Then Marcus and Tyler stood. We'll give you some time, Marcus said softly, touching Sarah's shoulder as he passed. Tyler gave a small nod, awkward, and they both stepped out. Sarah stood by the door a few more seconds, then pulled a chair over and sat beside the bed. You came, Linda said, her voice hoarse but clear. I did. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure either, Sarah admitted. Linda closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength. When she opened them again, there were tears. Sarah, I destroyed you. And I spent the last 10 years convincing myself I did the right thing. That kicking you out was tough love. That you needed to learn a lesson. She paused, struggling for breath. But the truth is, I was angry. Angry that you refused to be controlled. Angry that you had a strength I never had. Sarah said nothing. She just listened. I grew up in a house where you obeyed or you suffered, Linda continued. My father was violent. My mother never protected me. So I learned that love meant control. That if you loved someone, you shaped them. Broke them until they fit what you needed. She wiped her eyes with a trembling hand. And when you refused to break, I didn't know what to do. So you threw me away, Sarah said quietly. Yes. And it was the worst thing I've ever done. Linda looked directly at her. You became an incredible person in spite of me. Not because of me. In spite of me. And I lost the right to know that person. I lost my daughter. Because of pride. Because of control. Because of fear. Sarah felt a storm of emotions. Part of her wanted to scream. Part of her wanted to cry. Part of her wanted to walk away. But the strongest part, the part that had grown, that had gone to therapy, that had learned healing isn't about the other person. That part was calm. I forgive you, Sarah said at last. Not because you deserve it. Not because it erases anything. But because I deserve peace. And holding on to anger toward you is keeping me from fully having that. Linda sobbed. Thank you. But Sarah continued, her voice steady. Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. We're not going to have Sunday dinners. I'm not going to pretend we're a happy family now. You hurt me deeply, and that doesn't vanish because you finally admitted it. I understand. I have a life. A good life. With people who truly love me. And that life has no space for toxicity, even if it comes from you. Linda nodded weakly. You deserve all of it. You always did. Sarah stayed another 20 minutes. They didn't say much more. Just sat together in the quiet, two women who shared DNA, but not much else. When Sarah stood to leave, Linda said, Sarah? I'm sorry. Truly. If I could go back. But you can't, Sarah said gently. Neither of us can. All we can do now is move forward. Sarah walked out of the room, past Marcus and Tyler in the hallway without stopping, and out of the hospital. In the parking lot, she sat in the car and finally let the tears come. Not reconciliation tears. Closure tears. Freedom tears. She had heard the apology. She had said what she needed to say. And now she could finally, truly let it go. I flew back to San Francisco that same day. I didn't stay for dinner with my brothers. I didn't make promises to return. I just caught my flight and went back to the life I had built. Alex picked me up at the airport. He didn't ask how it went. He just held my hand the entire car ride home. When we got to my apartment, I finally spoke. She apologized, I said. A real apology. She admitted everything. And you know what's strange? What? It didn't change anything. It didn't erase the pain. It didn't give me back those years. It just closed the door. For real this time. Alex pulled me into a hug. That's a lot. And it was. It was everything I needed. In the months that followed, my life didn't change dramatically. There was no Hollywood-style transformation. But there was something quieter, deeper, peace. I stopped waking up in the middle of the night with that tightness in my chest. I stopped looking over my shoulder waiting for someone to tell me I wasn't enough. I stopped proving my worth to ghosts. TechFlow offered me a position as Vice President of Engineering. At 30, I'd be leading a department of 50 engineers. Salary, $350,000 plus significant equity. I accepted, not to prove anything, but because I was good at it. Because I loved the challenge. Because I had built a reputation based on merit, not privilege. On my first week as VP, Priya, now my peer in leadership, pulled me aside. You know how rare this is, right? She said. An Asian woman. Self-taught. No degree. VP of engineering at 30? You're a statistical anomaly. I know, I said. And for the first time, it didn't come with imposter syndrome. It didn't come with fear that someone would find out I was a fraud. It came with clarity. I had worked for this. I deserved to be here. I started mentoring others with hard paths, self-taught developers. People with gaps in their resumes because they had to survive before they could thrive. I understood that journey in a way privileged people never would. One day, an intern named Jasmine came to my office. She was 22, had slept in shelters during high school, learned to code at the public library. How did you do it? She asked. How did you not give up when everything was against you? I thought honestly before answering. Because giving up would have meant they were right, I said. That I was worthless. That I didn't matter. And somewhere deep down, I knew that was a lie. So I kept proving it, not to them, but to myself. Jasmine nodded, eyes shining with tears. Thank you. I needed that. 3 months after visiting my mom at the hospital, Marcus called again. She passed away last night, he said. His voice was rough from crying. Peacefully. In her sleep. I felt sadness. Not the gut-wrenching sadness of losing someone you love, but the quiet ache of what could have been. Of wasted potential. Of what might have been if she had chosen love over control. I'm sorry, Marcus, I said. And I meant it. The funeral's Friday. In Portland. Will you come? I thought about it. Standing next to a casket. Listening to people speak about a version of her I never knew. Pretending to grieve something I never had. No, I said gently. I said goodbye when I saw her in the hospital. I don't need a funeral for that. There was a pause. I understand. Tyler does too. We want to try. To have a relationship with you. If you want. No pressure. Maybe, I said. With time. But slowly. Slow works. After I hung up, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea and looked out over the city. It was a Saturday afternoon. I could hear kids playing in a nearby park. I could smell someone grilling. Life. Happening all around me. Moving forward, regardless of the drama, the trauma, the tangled stories we carry. Alex stepped onto the balcony. You okay? I am, I said. And it was true. My mom died. Damn. Sarah. It's okay. Really. I pulled him to sit beside me. You know what I realized? For years, I was waiting for her to see me, to validate me, to love me the way I needed. And when she finally did, when she finally apologized, I realized I didn't need it anymore. I had already validated myself. Alex kissed my hand. You're the strongest person I know. I'm not strong, I said. I'm resilient. There's a difference. Strength implies you never break. Resilience means you break and still find a way to keep going. That night, looking out at the city that had become my home, I finally understood something. The biggest win wasn't the money, wasn't the promotions, wasn't the career. The biggest win was that I had built a life where I was truly, unconditionally loved by people who chose me. And more importantly, I had learned to love myself, to see myself, to believe I was enough, not because someone else said so, but because I proved it to myself day after day. My mother tried to break me, and for a while, she succeeded. But I rebuilt myself. And the person I became was stronger, kinder, more complete than I ever would have been if she hadn't forced me to discover my own strength. That doesn't excuse what she did. It never will. But it means that in the end, I won. Not against her, but against the story she tried to write about me. That I wasn't enough. That I wasn't strong enough. That I wasn't worthy. I was all of those things. I always had been. I just needed to find it on my own. 2 years have passed since my mother died. I'm 32 now, Vice President of Engineering at TechFlow, leading a team of 75 people. My salary has passed $400,000 a year. I bought my first property, a 2-bedroom condo in No Valley with a view of the city. It's not a mansion, but it's mine. Fully mine. Alex and I got married last year. It was a small ceremony, just 20 people, in a garden in Sausalito. Diana was my maid of honor. Priya gave a speech that made me laugh and cry. I didn't invite my biological family, but Marcus sent a message that was genuine and respectful. Tyler sent flowers. We talk sometimes, Marcus, Tyler, and me. Not often. Maybe once every few months. Occasional lunches when I'm in Portland for work. It's not the picture-perfect sibling relationship you see in movies, but it's honest. And honesty has always mattered more to me than perfection. Marcus had a baby last year. He sent me photos and asked if I wanted to meet my nephew next time I visited. I went. I held that tiny baby and cried, not out of sadness, but something more complicated. Hope, maybe. Hope that this next generation would be raised with more love and less control. I'm going to do things differently, Marcus told me that day. I'm going to break the cycle. I know you will, I said. Tyler's in therapy now too. He called me a few months ago, late at night, clearly a little drunk. Sarah, I need to tell you something, he began. When you got kicked out, I knew it was wrong. I knew. But it was easier to pretend you deserved it. Because if you didn't, then it meant I stood by and watched Mom destroy my sister for nothing. For control. And I couldn't face that. Tyler, you were 19, I said gently. I forgave you a long time ago. Now you need to forgive yourself. He cried on the other end. We talked for 2 hours that night. It was the first real conversation we'd had in over a decade. My career kept growing. I was invited to speak at a TEDx conference on resilience in tech. My talk was about how trauma can coexist with success. How you don't have to get over your past to build a meaningful future. The talk went viral. 3 million views. Hundreds of messages from people who had lived similar stories. People who had been kicked out. People who had to build from scratch. People who thought they were alone. I started a small scholarship fund, $50,000 a year of my own money, for young self-taught developers from unstable homes, for scholarships of $12,500 each. It's not a lot in the big picture. But for someone sleeping on a couch, learning to code in a public library, it's everything. The first recipient was a 19-year-old girl named Aisha. She'd been kicked out for being queer. Living with friends, working 2 jobs, studying web dev in her spare time. When I called to give her the news, she sobbed so hard she couldn't speak. You don't understand, she finally managed. I was about to give up. I thought it was impossible. I know, I said. But it's not. It's hard. But it's not impossible. Diana is still my best friend. She moved to a different apartment, but we still have dinner every week. She's dating someone serious now, a teacher named Keiko, and they're talking about getting engaged. Priya got promoted to CTO. Technically, she's my boss now. But our friendship hasn't changed. We still meet for coffee every Friday morning before work. You know what I admire about you? Priya said recently. You never let your success erase where you came from. You don't pretend it was easy. You don't pretend you're special. You just kept showing up. Showing up is 90% of the battle, I said. My life isn't perfect. I still have hard days. I still wake up with anxiety sometimes. I still see families in restaurants, Parents laughing with daughters, easy hugs, unconditional love. And I feel a sting for what I never had. But I've learned that pain and joy can coexist. You can have scars and still be healed. You can lose things and still be grateful for what you have. Alex and I are talking about having kids. Not now, maybe in a few years. And when I think about that, I think about how I'll do things differently. How I'll love unconditionally. How I'll never make a child feel like they have to earn my love. You're going to be an amazing mom, Alex told me when we talked about it. How do you know? I asked. Because you know exactly what not to do. And he's right. I visit Portland occasionally now. Not the house I grew up in that was sold after my mom passed, but the city itself. I go to the cafe where I worked when I was 17. It's still there under new management. I pass the public library where I taught myself to code. Those places don't hurt anymore. They're just memories. Stepping stones that got me here. Last time I was in Portland, I drove past the place where I lived in that tiny windowless room. The building had been renovated, probably no longer split into tiny rooms for desperate people. But I sat in my car for a few minutes, staring at that building. And I thought about the 18-year-old girl who lived there, working 2 jobs, studying in libraries, convinced she'd never make it out of that hole. I wish I could go back and tell her, "You're going to make it. It'll be hard. There will be nights you want to give up, but you won't. And 10 years from now, you'll be sitting in a car you bought, on your way to dinner with your husband, living a life you built from nothing." But she wouldn't have believed me. I know she wouldn't. Sometimes. You just have to live it to believe it. So that's it. That's my story. The story of how I was kicked out of my home at 17. And how, 15 years later, I built a life more meaningful and more full than I ever thought possible. This isn't a revenge story. I didn't get rich to rub it in my family's face. I'm not here to say I won while they lost. It's simpler than that. And more complicated. It's a story about realizing that your worth doesn't come from who loves you. It comes from how you choose to love yourself when no one else does. It's about understanding that you can forgive without reconciling. You can feel empathy for someone who hurt you without letting them hurt you again. You can acknowledge someone's flawed humanity without sacrificing your own peace. My mother made terrible choices. She hurt a child who depended on her. And it took her being on her deathbed to finally admit it. That's not admirable. That's tragic. But I also understand through years of therapy and growth that she was operating from a place of unhealed trauma. She repeated the patterns she was taught. And while that explains her actions, it doesn't excuse them. Responsibility and compassion can coexist. Forgiveness and boundaries can coexist. Love and distance can coexist. If you're watching this now and seeing pieces of your own story in mine, if you were rejected by family, if you were kicked out, if you had to build a life from scratch while others started with privilege, I want you to know a few things. First, it wasn't your fault. Children can't do anything that justifies being abandoned by their parents. If you were neglected, discarded, or pushed out, that speaks to their failures, not your value. Second, you don't have to forgive to move on. Forgiveness is personal. If it helps you, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Your healing doesn't depend on absolving the people who hurt you. Third, success doesn't erase trauma. You can have an amazing career, a beautiful relationship, financial security, and still have hard nights. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. Fourth, chosen family is just as valid as blood. The people who show up for you, consistently, without conditions. Those are your real people. DNA doesn't define loyalty. And finally, you are not alone. I know when you're in the middle of it. When you're sleeping on couches, working 2 jobs, barely surviving. It feels like no one else is going through what you are. But you're not the only one. There are millions of us. And we made it to the other side. You will too. My life isn't perfect now. I still have bad days. I still battle anxiety. I still feel a pang when I see parents loving their children the way I deserve to be loved. But I have a life I love. People who love me back. Work that fulfills me. Purpose that's bigger than just me. And in the end, that's all anyone can ask for. A life you built with your own hands. On your own terms. Rooted in your own values. Not built on other people's approval. not built on external validation, but on a deep, unshakable truth. You are worthy, even if no one ever told you that. Even if the people who were supposed to know better failed to see you. You are worthy. You always have been. So here's my ask. If this story resonated with you, if you saw parts of your own journey in it, leave a comment below. Tell me, what was your turning point? When did you choose yourself for the first time? Or, if you're still in it, still fighting your way out, what keeps you going? Your story matters. And when you share it, you tell the next person, you're not alone. It's possible. I'm living proof. If this story moved you, if it made you feel seen, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I share real stories about real people overcoming real things. No fairy tale endings. Just honest journeys of survival and growth. And if you have a story suggestion for the next video, maybe your own or someone you'd like to see highlighted, leave it in the comments. I read every single one. And who knows? Your story might be the next one I tell. Thank you for staying with me until the end. For giving me your attention, your time, your emotional presence. That means more than you know. To everyone out there rebuilding their life from ashes, keep showing up. Keep trying. Keep believing you deserve good things. Because you do. You always have. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you'll look back and realize you built something beautiful out of something broken. And that will be the sweetest victory of all. Until the next story, take care.